Now, if you're watching this video, then you're probably interested in finding out how to turn your 3D printer into a money-making machine. Now, I've been selling on Etsy and eBay over the past 12 months, and I've made around $7,000 across both stores. It's not too bad for something that I just do in my spare time. Now, I'm not claiming to be an expert on the matter. I just want to share with you what I've learned along the way, and hopefully you can figure out how to do it for yourself. Now, the route that most people go down, especially when they're starting out, including myself, is you go on a website like Thingiverse, you find this really cool model, you see that it's commercially available to sell, and then you sell it. But here's the problem with that. That's what everyone else is doing. If you find a really cool 3D model online and it's commercially available, then chances are there's lots of other people already selling it. Why? Because it's way easier than making it yourself. Lots of people lack the skills that are required to make something from scratch, but it's not as difficult as you think. So how do we find 3D models that you can sell, make a profit, and you're not going to be dealing with 300 million other people to compete with? Let's take the articulated dragon, for example. These things sell like hotcakes. People absolutely love them. But as you can see, they're everywhere, being sold by everyone. The people that are selling these successfully were probably the early adopters of the design and have been on the market for quite a while, making it nearly impossible for a new seller to come in and try and compete with them. And if you're a brand new seller, why would someone buy from your store when you have 0 reviews and no proven track record, when they could go and buy from a more reputable seller with thousands? So here's the question: how do you find a really popular thing to sell that people aren't already selling? Now, you could sign up to a private group where you're given brand new STLs every week for you to sell on your store as long as you stay subscribed. But that money not only eats into your profits, but you're basically paying to compete with all these other people that are already selling those same things. So here's what you can do. Find something that's selling really well and figure out how you can make it better or offer a different variation to it. And I'm not talking about just changing the color. Let's take these Dragon headphone stands, for example. As you can see, there are a bunch of sellers all selling exactly the same thing. This seller has actually improved on the design by hand painting the model to not only allow him to charge a higher price, but to make it stand out from the rest by making it slightly different. And that's what we're about to get into. Now, I know that low poly stuff sells quite well. I'm currently already selling a low poly skull that you can put your hat or beret or helmet on. So I had a look through the listing and I can't actually see a low poly version of this design. So I had a look around online, found a dragon head that was commercially available, already pre-made for me, imported it into Blender, decimated the geometry, and bam, a brand new product made in the space of about 5 minutes. Now, it's important that if you are selling someone else's design, that you make sure you mention that in your listing and leave a link to the original. Also, don't make anything that is copywritten. Things like Deadpool or Star Wars Stormtroopers or anything like that, if you're going to be selling copywritten IP, then it's just going to be a matter of time until you get a cease and desist in your inbox. And yes, there are people that are selling these and they sell them for quite a while, but in the end, you're just going to be causing yourself much more heartache than you need.
Account is permanently suspended due to copyright infringement.
So the trick is just to keep things generic and safe and make sure that you're doing everything above board. Now, another great way to stand out from the crowd is to design something yourself. But what if you don't have any 3D modeling experience? Well, now is the time to learn. Now, I'm not a professional 3D modeler or engineer or anything like that. I'm terrible at math and geometry, but what I do have is access to the internet, because you can learn pretty much anything you want on YouTube. It's just one search away. And if you can teach yourself 3D modeling over time, then it will make you stand out from the rest. And trust me, if I can do it, so can you. Now, I prefer to do all of my modeling in Blender, even if it's a functional part. And for functional parts, typically you want to use CAD software like Tinkercad or Fusion 360, but I've given it a shot many times and I just can't wrap my head around it. And I find that Blender gives you a lot more freedom in terms of modeling things and moving things around. Now, Blender is typically used for animation and it can make some really amazing stuff, but it also has some tools in there that allow you to make things extremely precise down to the millimeter. I've been using it since I was in high school, so I'm very familiar with it, but in the end, it just needs to be what works for you and what you understand. Learning anything is always a daunting task, but as long as you persevere and as long as you have the passion for it, then it comes as quite an enjoyable process. Now, if you really don't want to do it, then that's okay, because you can pay other people to do it for you. Websites like Fiverr are great. You basically tell them what you want, you pay them, and then they give it to you. But if you want small changes and you want to adjust things, it's a very back and forth process and it can end up costing you quite a lot of money. That's why if you can learn how to do it yourself, It's free. But let's say you've just had a thought, Martin, you know what? I will learn how to 3D model and I will figure out how to create awesome stuff. What do I make? I would focus on making something that fixes a problem instead of just a toy or a decorative piece. So let's focus on making something that people need. So think about anything that annoys you and figure out if there's a way to fix it with a 3D printed device. As they say, necessity is the mother of invention. I managed to create this awesome product called the Blind Stopper. Basically, stops your blinds banging in the wind. The only reason that these blind stoppers exist is because I would try and sleep and my blinds would bang on the wall every single night. And I was sick of putting a book or a pillow under them. I said, I have a 3D printer. I am going to stop this from ever happening again. And so I came up with this and people love it. So I sell these in a 4-pack. It cost me about $1.50 to make all 4 of them. And I sell it for about $20. Not too bad. So walk around your house and think about things that annoy you. For example, whenever I'm using my Dyson, I have to hold that button down and if I let it go, then the Dyson turns off. After using the vacuum cleaner for like 30 minutes, I start to get a blister on my finger and my hand cramps up and it just sucks. So I thought, I wonder if there is a 3D printed device that fixes this. And turns out there is. This means that someone has shared my frustration and come up with a solution to the problem. And there's a good chance that if something annoys you, then it probably annoys other people too. Let's take Print Farm Academy, for example. Now these guys make components for a miter saw that make it easy to use, and these parts just didn't exist before. And now it's something that they sell in huge quantities. But before them, this part just didn't exist. So it's up to you to figure out what you can do to fix someone's problem. Now don't get me wrong, decorative items and toys, they sell really well, but they just don't have a practical use. It's more of a want than a need. If people want something, they get it, it's something that could be cool to have. If people need something, then they have no option other than to buy it. And that is something that you need to create. You're not relying on people's personal tastes or if they like the color or this or that. You're relying on someone's need to fix a problem. And when it comes to many, many sleepless nights and frustration and being tired all day because of my blinds banging, this need is extremely strong. And that's one of the reasons why these little things sell so well. So if something annoys you, chances are it annoys other people and we need to figure out a way to fix it. And in the process, we make money. So let's find some things that annoy us. So one thing that comes to mind is the batteries that pop out of my scales in my bathroom. For some reason, I lost the battery cover. And whenever I stand on the scales, the batteries fall out and it's extremely annoying. So maybe there could be a way to make some type of universal battery cover or at least a battery cover specific for that model. And it doesn't have to stop there. You could go to your TV remote, your aircon remote, anything that has a battery cover, model the cover, and then sell that as a replacement. Another thing that annoys me is that whenever I'm using a sauce bottle, the sauce gets stuck in the lid, and when I'm trying to squeeze it, it doesn't squeeze, and then I squeeze harder, and then it just spurts out everywhere and goes all over my clothes. So maybe there could be a device that you attach to the sauce bottle, and it has this type of mechanism that whenever you squeeze it, it opens up, and whenever you close it, it closes and pushes all the sauce off the top. And another thing that annoys me is that whenever I'm trying to floss my teeth, the tooth floss breaks and then I have to take it out, wrap it around my fingers, do it again, it breaks, take it out, wrap it around my fingers. What if there was something that I could attach to my finger that could just hold the tooth floss there so when it breaks I can just pull out another piece? So let's say, okay, I found something that annoys me, let's try and figure out a way to fix it. So the first thing I do is check if it already exists on Google. I found this Reddit post where someone has the exact same problem that I have, so that's a good start. But Google showed that the product doesn't exist. So let's have a look on Yegi. Now this one actually looks interesting, a ring design, but there's no way to cut the piece off after you've used it. So maybe I could design something that goes on your finger that you can wrap the floss around and it has a little sharp edge that you can cut the floss off with. Maybe it could work. A good way to make sure you're not wasting your time and spending hours or days or months trying to design this thing is to just ask other people, ask your friends and family if this is also something that annoys them. If they say yes, then great, go ahead with it. If they say no, I couldn't care less, then put it in the bin. Also, I find that looking at the object that you're trying to fix or find a solution to really helps. I often look at this blind stopper, I'm like, how can I make it better? And really just look at it from all the angles and let your brain do its thing. And sometimes I get really good ideas from it. Now don't be afraid if your design requires multiple components. My blind stopper has 3 of them, the foam, the little blocks that go into there, and then the clip. And yeah, it does take me a bit of time to assemble them all, but without this foam piece, the whole thing wouldn't work. So it's something that you just have to do. In an ideal world, it would be great if you could just print it, take it straight off the build plate, shove it in a box, and then send it off, but sometimes that's just not possible. Making something from scratch can be quite difficult, especially if it has some type of mechanism involved, but that's why I always go on Yogi and search in the general gist of what I'm trying to create, just to get ideas to figure out how I can fix the problem. But if you were looking for something a little bit easier, then going down the route of personalized things could be for you. Now, the first thing that probably comes to mind are keychains or nameplates or something that is being sold in the millions. But just remember that lots of other people are already selling these things and there's huge competition for it. You need to figure out how you can sell something personalized that doesn't yet exist. Take this idea, making a custom business card holder for a gym. This idea is awesome and you can see how successful it is because there are so many people selling it. This is an idea that could work, but don't get on board with this specific design because the market is already saturated with it. We need to come up with something unique of our own. So think about other businesses that could benefit from a personalized card holder. Let's see if it exists for dentists. And indeed it does. How about real estate agents? Yep, it's already there. How about pizza shops? There's nothing for pizza shops. Now, I don't know about you, but I really like pizza and I know there are lots of pizza shops. So this could be a gap in the market we've been looking for. So we know that this type of custom card holder works. It's been proven with the dumbbell, but now we just need to alter it slightly for a different type of business. Pizza! So the first thing I do is have a look on Yagi. And all I did is type in pizza to see what will come up. I found these various pizza designs which could work. Some of them are not licensed for commercial use, but that's okay. We just need inspiration. This pizza trophy actually gave me a great idea. A slice of pizza mounted on a block. Then I found this pizza saver. Maybe I could use that as the way to hold the cards. And then I found this commercially available pizza slice so I don't have to model it myself. Okay, I think we're ready to start designing. To start off, we need a base. I created a cube, beveled the edges, and scaled the top. Then I imported the pizza slice and moved it to where I wanted it to go. The angles aren't too steep, so I think my printer will be able to handle it. Now, if you have a multicolored printer, then this is where it would really shine. Then I made the pizza saver by making a Y, extruding it, then placing it on the base. All that's left to add is a personal touch, and voila! A brand new design that took me a whole of 10 minutes to make. Now, this model is far from perfect, and if I was to actually sell it, then I would have to fix a few things. But you get the idea. We just made an entirely new product that no one else is selling, and we know that because of the success of the dumbbell business card holder, that there is a good chance that this will be successful too. But just keep in mind that some of the things that you make may not sell. And if that's the case, don't treat it as a failure, treat it as a great success. Because where you may not have won financially, you have won intellectually because of all the new things that you've learned along the way. But the key to this entire process is to think outside the box. Think about things that other people aren't thinking of. Be unique, be creative, but most importantly, have fun. Thanks for watching.